Hey, my name's Shawnshawn. I sell art on shawnshawn.co. Today we're going to review Juan Bosco. So this is a channel, I think he's Galician for sure. Hola gallegos, ¿cómo están? I used to live in Spain, so I do speak Spanish, but I'll do this video in English. So we're going to review him. He's from obviously the El País Bosco, which is the Basque country, which is called in Spain, which is because it has its own language, which is unique to all of Europe, which is very interesting that it's not related to Latin at all. So it's one of those pre-Latin languages that survived. As the Romans conquered Europe, most of the other smaller language groups got eaten up and converted to one of the bigger language groups, eventually Latin and then Spanish and then French and Portuguese. So yeah, let's go check out his channel called Juan Bosco. So it's good. It's just his name, which is really simple. It might be a little bit better Juan Bosco Art or Juan Bosco Arte. He has no header for the banner for the YouTube channel. You can add a background of one of the paintings, which I would highly suggest because I think his painting is very consistent. So you could just do a nice landscape of Asturias or El País Bosco or something like that, which is Basque country. He has a nice headshot of him laying down on some rocks. You don't really see his face. It's a cool shot. You can kind of recognize him, but I would encourage just a headshot of just about as close as I am now and then just zoom it in. Because when you look at, say, your iPhone, that icon is going to be literally this big, so you're not going to be able to make out that it's a person lying on the beach. But if it's just a headshot, you can kind of see that and be like, oh, I know that person. So I would encourage just a headshot for the profile. Looking at the top, he just has videos, shorts. So he has the shorts and videos, just got it started. It's a very small channel. Once he gets going, what I would encourage him to do is on the front page here, you can break that into like seascapes, mountains, animals if you're going to do that. So you can have 3 different types of paintings that light up on top. He's all doing realism. So I would encourage him to kind of bucket that out. And then you can do obviously most popular at the top. So this is just something to think about as you add on people. Let's go into the first video. This one's called The Life of a Painter, Plein Air Watercolor, Mountain River at Asturias by Juan Bosco, episode 4. So I like how he sets the stage just walking through the mountainscape with these really traditional clothing. So it's really kind of cool. Sets you back in as if you painted this in the 1800s or something. So it's very picturesque. So he just blends in naturally with the landscape. He's not standing out with modern clothes. So it's kind of an interesting take how to do a painting. He's setting the stage here. Let's see what else. He's going to walk through this, obviously. So very picturesque, kind of a cool way to start the story of you're walking around looking for a place to paint. You don't know what you're looking for. Let's go to where the painting starts. I'm assuming the paint starts somewhere. So the intro is about 3 minutes, 48 minutes, which is kind of long before you start the painting. But I think if you talked a little bit along the way, it'll kind of pull you in more. Because I don't think he's talking through this whole video. He's just kind of looking for a shot and then setting up his painting gear. It's kind of funny because he's dressed in his 1800s clothes like it's the 1800s, but then it's like, you have a camera, so. But it's a really cool kind of feel to it. I mean, even the shoes they're new, but they don't look that modern. They look kind of old school, so. This has this really nice vibe of sitting in the countryside in Asturias and that kind of look. Very regional look, which is really cool for a painting if you're a regional painter like this. Oh, I thought that was whiskey, man. Pour me some whiskey, homie. But that's a cool way to store your liquor, or not your liquor, your oil, and, well, I mean, your thinner. You just store it in a flask like that. I like that. It's a really cool idea. It's very compact, and you just store enough for one painting. He's probably put water in there if he's doing watercolor. Obviously not thinner if it's oil painting. I really like that detail shot here. It's really strong. Let's get to the painting part a little bit more, guys. So he is doing, yeah, he's doing watercolor. And he has this pristine white shirt for painting. I like, that's always a little suspect. Like, is it really going to stay pristine white? It's like it looks super cool, but a little bit staged, but you know, it's cool looking. A watercolor is a pretty clean paint, so. I really like that setup for painting. It's just super cool, super compact. You can paint anywhere on the fly. It's a great traveling kit, what he has there. So that's super cool. You can tell the paints are super well used, so he's obviously a real painter. So that looks real. The clothing looks a little staged again, but I like that look actually. It kind of looks to give it a really picturesque kind of feel, like all the textures and feel the wood and that you know, that burlap there is super cool. It's not a very ideal angle here. He's doing it from the angle of the camera, but you might have wanted to flipped it like 30 degrees to get it behind the camera kind of feel. And then you would be able to see the painting. You don't have to tilt your, like right now I have to tilt my head to kind of see it. I'm a painter, so I can just adjust, but let's skip ahead a little bit lower. It's a really nice coming together. He's changing the camera angle, which is nice. You want to do that once in a while. I think he's wrapping up here. I like that binder. That's a really great way to hold everything together because it is probably pretty windy up there in the mountains. Again, there's no talking here. He could do a lot of talking over, especially when he's not painting, like what's going on in the painting and all that. But really great, you know, tool set. Just compact, put it all the way in one little burlap sack. It's just a leather sack. It's really great. So you could set up and literally do this anywhere around the world. And look super cool at it at the same time. Let's go into video 2. That's a really fun video. I like it's only 8 minutes, so it's very tight. It's not too long for a painting video, which some painting videos can be really long, and then it's like, oh my god, this goes on forever. This one is called Plein Air Seascape in Salinas, Asturias, The Life of a Painter, Juan Bosco, episode 36. So I was thinking he's episoding every single painting, which is kind of cool. So he's got some of his favorite painters here on a desktop, which is really cool. Because you don't always see what inspires different painters. Yeah, it's just amazing. You see this stuff from 1824, you're like, holy crap, this is a painting in 1824 right in my book. It's just, I mean, art books are so magical. And nowadays people just don't analyze them enough, I think. I mean, look at how awesome the colors are here. It's always interesting too, because you get a different feel for the paint depending where you're at. Here they're very drab kind of colors, which goes along with the northern part of Spain and also obviously the Celtic area of England. It's going to be very gray skies. I lived in Belgium, which is obviously a different country, but it has that gray sky kind of feel all the way around. So you get these real subtleties in the sky and very cloudy. So you get, it just impacts your life and the way you paint and everything. So he's going to be walking into the scene. I skipped ahead a little bit, guys. Walking his dog. So it's kind of nice. He just walks his way up to the scene. So it gives you kind of a story build. Very picturesque. Got very traditional clothes again. So very kind of cool photos. This is kind of a weird effect where you put a photo in photo. I don't think that's a great way to do it, but I would just kind of do two photos side by side or something and flip into it. This is kind of a weird editing thing where he's kind of slowly moved into a different scene. I guess he's just trying to show the plant life, but I would just show the plant life and then flip back, I think. Let's get to the painting part, if I can find it. He's got some nice detail shots here, pulling out the stuff. I do this myself on my own painting videos, so I really approve of this style where you kind of pull out the materials and show it a little bit. It gives it a really nice feel to when you're painting and everything. Here he's wearing traditional clothes again, a little bit different this time. A little more practical, I think, because he can roll up the sleeves. So he doesn't get dirty. It looks more practical, like what you might actually wear. Gonna do some sketching. I like these detailed shots, and then he goes back. Let's scroll a little bit to the painting. This is a really nice detail shot. It's not exactly in focus right, but it's just super cool to do a shot this close. But you can never control that zoom. You don't know if it looks good until later, and you're like, oh shit, the camera zoomed in weird. I've had that happen in a lot of paintings. Really great composition. I love these detail shots. These are just so impressive. Like, I don't do this in my own painting video, which I should, but this is just so cool. When you show them like physically painting and scrubbing the brushes and all that. And it's so cool, like, I think about using traditional clothing and traditional equipment. It just gives it that real feel to the area. Like regionally, you know you're in Asturias with all this look he's going versus if you wore some Nikes and a like t-shirt and whatever, baseball cap, you'd be like, okay, what's this fool trying to pretend, you know? But he really feels like he's in the scene. It's a very painterly, artistic feel. It's similar to the Australian painter I saw online who got this really broad Australian cap and goes in the outback and all this stuff. This has the same feel, where it's super cool. Drawn into Asturias. Let's go further into the painting here. And again, it has that dreary kind of colors, but that's what you see in those landscapes. It's very gray, very subtle figures of gray, and just super subtle in the watercolor. And he has really tight control in some of the watercolor. It's just amazing. Like, he's getting these really fine lines, which in watercolor it's easy to do washes and just super abstract. So it's really cool that he has these really tight details without overly doing it. I've found myself when I do watercolor, I do overdo it. Because you put it on and then it dries, and you put it on and it dries, and then eventually you're like, oh, that was too much color, but you can't really erase it. But you can a little bit with white, or you just get like a Q-tip and just dub it out with water. It's gonna wrap up his stuff, take off. So he's doing some camera effects now. He's adding a little bit to the thing. That's the end of that, basically. Let's go to the third one. This is called Seascape Oil Painting Tutorial, Plano Artist, Asturias, The Life of a Painter, Juan Bosco, episode 34. So very long title, but good for Google SEO probably. He is getting a lot of fairly good size of audience, even though he has a smaller channel with not that many videos out, but it's high quality, so high quality stands out. So he just picks up his stuff, starts to go for a walk. This is probably more, I like that he's kind of snipping this earlier, so you just get faster into the painting. He walks into the scene. I really like that sense that he walks in the scene. It would be nice if he had kind of a headshot and explained what he's thinking of, what he wants to paint that day, to kind of set the scene a little more. He's got this old school canvas, which is super badass. I mean, look how old that thing is. It's rusted from all the salt air. It just feels like 100 years old. It's probably like 5-10 years old, but because of its age, it's just rusting the hell out and everything. It's just a super traditional tripod. It's not even the French easel. It's just like a super simple one, but obviously very practical. It's got these really beautiful sets of setting the scene next by. I would actually combine that area because it's kind of cool. You could just falsely set it, like you could add the river in there, but again, he's got these very traditional clothes. But it's just what you buy up in that area if you don't have that much money. So here it's looking a little more modern. What he's wearing now, it's kind of like a little bit of a sailor kind of look, a little more modern. Not as traditional as his earlier photos, which were very, very traditional, like old school. So this is a little bit more modern, but still, you know, same clothes of the modern age in El País Bosco. Really nice detail shots, and he's combining these really nice landscape shots and then back to the detail and the landscape shots, so you get it's a really nice sense of mixing up all the shots to do this, which is super cool, which you can do in the drawing stage because it doesn't harm the drawing to stop. Let's skip ahead a little bit more, guys. So he's got a zoom shot. I like this kind of establish the scene. You get a feel of really being there on site. I used to live next to the sea, so it's just an awesome sight to be next to the sea and walk and paint next to it. Where is the painting? Okay, here we get to the painting. Yeah, just look at the sky. It's so awesome. He started with that red background to kind of set the mood, kind of, and then he's laid the blues on top, but it's just beautiful colors. And this is real subtle waves that he's just putting in there. And you can just see the sky just blends into the waves. This isn't a really good angle at all because you can't see anything. It's great for showing what he's painting, but you can't read it. You just can only film really from one side, but I guess he's trying to set the scene. So here you can see it, but because you changed that camera angle. So I would probably edit out those shots. I mean, this, like, here is okay because it's far enough out, but if you can't really see what he's doing, then it's, you know, but it's hard to do a good shot for the painting as well as a shot for the video. It's like you can get one but not always both, so that's kind of what he's running into here. Like, the rocks are just amazing, great detail shots, kind of zoom in and out, which I think adds a lot to the painting. You get the grittiness of the easel, the painting, and then he's going back to the seascape. So it's just a really great blend of switching back and forth to see what the artist sees, what the painting you're seeing, what the paint feels like, the clothing he's wearing, the look over the shoulder kind of feel. There he's trying to get like the scene plus him in there, which the sun's kind of gotten out of his view, so it's better. This is a better angle, I think. But it's really kind of cool that he changes it up. He's repeatedly changing up the angle of the lens. It's just wild. Like he's probably using 3 different lenses or a zoom camera you go in and out with just to see all the details. But it looks super cool to do this. Really, really nice detail on the painting. You get a real feel for what's going on there. And it's a real beautiful oil, I think, is you can just kind of work it, not worry about the dry time like you do in acrylic. You have to worry about that. Let's go closer to the end, guys. This is a finished product. Very nicely done. And in oil, it's very messy kind of cleanup, but you take some paper towels and you wipe it off. It's kind of funny. He has his pants rolled up. I got made fun in school because of rolling my pants, so little tidbit there. And then he walks out of the scene. So I kind of like that he adds this entering into the scene and exiting out of the scene. It has a really kind of beginning of the story, middle, and then the end. So it's a really kind of nice scene. Now let's go to the website. So the website it's juan.bosco.com. So very clean. I like that. Long term, that's good. You might want to have art in the end or arte. I don't have it, so I know why he did it this way, and he's an architect and painter, which is interesting because I was going to be an architect. So architect, what happens when you do like graphic design or architect, the painting tends to be the opposite, way more organic feel, versus the architecture will be very, linear, very crisp, and you have to follow the rules kind of thing. And so the painting can be looser, but he has pretty tight painting. He's some vehicle paintings. I don't know if I'd start with the vehicle paintings. I'd start with the seascape maybe. He has a scroll here. It's kind of cool. Whales. I'm just scrolling this a little faster than it scrolls. But it has a nice pace to the scroll. Like his seascapes are just amazing. But I'm a seascape painter. He has a video right off the top, so that's really sharp. So if you play this, it's going to have his traditional view. That's pretty good. He's at the Black Whale Art Gallery, so there's a little art gallery. He has this about me, which I don't think it really shows about it. Oh, he was in Frankfurt. I used to live in Frankfurt. Oh, and he owned a personal art gallery in Frankfurt, so that's super cool. So really interesting backwork. He has a co-working space. Let's see what this is about. So I think it just means it's a co-op, and he probably has multiple artists there. So I guess the co-working space is just an architectural space. Okay, so he does architecture and that. So this is architectural studio. I'm not sure I would combine that with the art website per se. I get it because architecture is an art form in a way. It's structurally art basically versus painting is paint whatever you want. Workshops. Another shop, there's nothing in the shop for some reason. He has an Etsy shop. Let's see where this goes. Etsy shop has some stuff up. So what I think I would do is, it'd be more work, is have all these prints on the website and just link straight to the particular print off Etsy. I know why he's doing this. It's just easier to manage this way. Let's see what the more is. He's got press income. Some of the gallery he's been in. That's kind of cool. It's a very clean website. You don't really have a CV, which is fine. You don't need it nowadays. He just has a little bit of where he's been as a gallery. Yeah, it's just really gritty kind of feel to it. Really nice. I mean, the studio price is super cheap, $160. It's not super. It's super cheap, I would say. But yeah, it's a really kind of cool little website. I might set it up a little differently. There's no live work right now, no painting. So maybe he's just represented by galleries only. So he's only has prints there. So I get that. That's kind of an old school way of doing it, but I think you could sell the artwork straight from your website, to be honest. Maybe he's listed in some galleries, so that's why he does it. I'm not sure. He didn't have any gallery links, which would be smart. If you're in galleries, just have the gallery straight link. Be like, here's my work over here, here's my work up there. So I might add that as far as the website. Obviously, he's doing pretty well as a painter. I mean, he has 1,300 followers right off Google, so he's doing good right off the gate. Just with 38 videos, he's a high quality painting. I would just add maybe a montage and maybe a personal startup video with you, a headshot, and kind of introduce yourself, what you do, why you like painting landscape. And that would kind of kick off, I think, the video, and then maybe have a voiceover in the background. You could voice over after you do the video and be like, hey, I was thinking about this and that and blah, 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 blah. And you could just take notes off your phone right away And then later you're like, oh, at this point I was thinking about that. At that point I was thinking about this. I was thinking about the weather, blah, blah, blah. Or maybe you're not thinking about anything, so there's nothing to talk about. It'd also be nice to talk your architecture impact on your painting, if there's any. It looks pretty distinct as far as, I like that. The branding is very separate. There's not architectural combined with painting, so he probably has a separate architecture website, I'm guessing. But very strong painter. It'll be interesting to see where he goes from here. And buena hora, Juan. I hope everything's going well. And if you guys would like to subscribe, you can subscribe below. And I'll see you in the next artist review. Thanks for watching, guys.